So hello guys, welcome. This video is in continuation of my previous video, bridge checks by a second officer. In our previous video we had seen posters and checklists which are to be pasted or present on bridge. In this video we'll start with the equipments. So let's start.
So now we'll start with bridge equipment. First is our weather facsimile. So make sure for your weather facsimile, at least in your present voyage, you must have at least one facsimile receipt from your weather fax. In your Navtex, make sure that your Navtex is not on auto mode, because in wetting, if you are expecting wetting or PSC or any CDA inspection, make sure that the inspector will check whether you have selected the right station or not and whether your auto receiving mask is off or not. So auto receiving must be off, and see the stations. Whichever stations are there which are near to your ship's position, you must select them. And those stations which are not near to your ship's position, you must deselect them. So do not over select and do not under select the ship station. Mostly wetting inspector do check the stations in Navtex. And next is Eco Sounder printer. So normally in printer they don't check anything, they just check that whether once you have started this, you should make an entry that Eco Sounder printer started, and once you have stopped, you should make an entry that Eco Sounder printer stopped. Nothing much more than that. Then on Eco Sounder they normally check what is your alarm setting. So you must make sure that your alarm setting is as per your passage plan. They will check for that. Then secondly, in Eco Sounder they will check the depth, the range check. So whenever we switch on our Eco Sounder, we must do, or at least once in a month we must do the range check. On each range we must go and check whether the depth shown are correct or it is showing the depths or not. This range check must be there. This is given in VIQ itself, so you can go and refer there also. The third thing is when we approach a port, normally if you are at sea, your range will be 100. But once you start approaching port, the depths will start decreasing. It will be 80 meters, 60 meters, 40 meters. So make sure when you are around at berth, you substantially reduce your range as well. Like if you are in a depth of 30 meter, make sure your range is 40 meter, not 100 meter, because the wetting inspector look for this. Same thing if you are in a depth range of 10 meters or 15 meters, don't keep your Eco Sounder range to 100 meter or 50 meter, then you can reduce your range to around 20 meters. This just shows that yes, you were actually monitoring the depth, and that's why you have kept on reducing the range. So now next is your AIS. So make sure when you are at port, your status selection shall be port. If you are a tanker, if you are expecting any PSC or wetting a tanker, then you must select the right status of your ship. Speed log. So normally there have been observation that when the ship was all fast, still the speed log was showing a significant speed. So that means your speed log is having an error. So you must cross check your speed log. How you can cross check your speed log is with other ships. If you are transiting, then if you are sailing, then you can always call up a ship in the vicinity and confirm with them how much is their speed log showing the speed. And roughly from 2-3 ships, if you get a speed, this we must check. In GPS, normally they won't check anything. They just compare the timings. What is your master clock times and your GPS time? They must not be off. Like it should be exactly matching. Your ship's time and your GPS time must be matching. This is just to make sure that your timings are correct on your clocks. And normally from a second mate, he can ask where is your GPS selector switch. Normally in AMSA, they do ask direct question to second mates. So there have been observation in AMSA inspections, in Australian inspections, Australian PSC inspection, that the second mate didn't knew what is the where is the GPS selector switch. So you must know where is your GPS selector switch. From this switch you can select the feed from GPS 1 or GPS 2. That's why this switch is given. And in Eco Sounder there is one more thing, that you must be able to show him that you can do depth alarm test. This you must be able to show him normally, and it must be recorded on a monthly basis as well, that you are every month you are doing Eco Sounder monthly alarm test. And in the wetting, during the wetting also, inspector can ask you, can you show me how to do the alarm test for your eco sounder. They just want to see whether your eco sounder is working fine or not. Then also one more thing in eco sounder, they can ask you what is the recording interval of your eco sounder, like for how long does your eco sounder records. So normally on eco sounder it is for 24 hours, but you must know this. You can check in your eco sounder, particular eco sounder, how much is the logbook setting, for how much duration does your eco sounder can save the data. For example, now I'll show you how do we check the alarm, depth alarm in eco sounder. So as my depth is 41 meters, so if I put my alarm limit to 42 meters, there shall be an alarm over here. So as you can see, I've tested my depth alarm in eco sounder. That's how you must be able to show on your eco sounder as well. So I'll reduce my alarm value. So we'll move on to other equipments. For ECDIS, I'll make a separate video what all checks or what all things a vetting inspector can ask you on ECDIS. On radar, they will normally look for these markings, for these remarks. This must be posted near your radar that speed through water must be used for collision avoidance. Vetting inspector can ask you whether are you using GPS speed or speed through water in collision avoidance. So you must always say that you are using speed through water for collision avoidance. That is log speed, and you are not using GPS speed for collision avoidance.
Hence, once you are approaching to any port or berth, you can always keep one radar on SOG mode, speed over ground, and one on speed through water, and you can explain that to your vetting inspector as well. They will happily agree that one was used for collision avoidance and one was used for berthing.
Then in radar, they normally check what is your alarm settings for CPA and TCPA, whether you have reduced, because in OpenC we normally keep 2 nautical mile CPA, 20 minutes TCPA. So he will check whether when you are approaching, whether you have reduced the range for the alarms or not, or whether those alarms values are same. As you can see over here, so these CPA limit, nautical mile and time, they will check. This shall be reduced when you are approaching a port. Otherwise you would think that there will be cluster of alarms, so you can't keep that. So that's why you must reduce this alarm settings when you are approaching port. This I have already showed you in posters, wheelhouse poster, that near your radar a blind sector poster must be there. Normally on radar, never a vetting inspector would ask you to do a performance test, but you must know how to do a performance test on radar. He might ask you, because in a performance test there is no transmission is required, so hence he can ask you to do a performance test. Otherwise they normally see only records, whether you are keeping a proper record of performance test for radar or not. Another thing on bridge, normally he will ask you where is your banvas. So if you, for example on our ship, this is our banvas, so he will ask you what is the setting for that, how many minutes you are keeping. So you must tell him that how many minutes you are keeping. Now for example, this is password protected. On some ship it is with lock and key. They might ask you that where is the lock and key. So you must always answer that the lock and key is always with captain, not with any duty officer or on bridge. And same thing, if he asks you what is the password, I want to change the setting for this, then you must answer that you don't know the password. The password is only known by the master. Duty officer shall not know the password. This is what they want to hear if they ask you about banvas. And normally in banvas, vetting inspector do ask, okay, let me see your banvas whether it is working or not. So they will ask you to put in minimum minutes, and then we'll see the test whether it is giving alarm or not, and whether it is giving alarm in a backup officers cabins or not. They will also check for that. They will go down. I have seen PSC inspectors also checking this. They will go down with you and hear the alarm in third officers or second officer or master cabin, whichever is the backup cabin, they will hear whether the alarm is going in the backup officer's cabin or not.
Another test or check any inspector might do on Banvas is the emergency supply test. In this, we have to switch off the main supply of the Banvas, and then we have to check whether still our Banvas is working or not. That is to see whether our Banvas is getting any backup source of supply or not. This test must be done monthly by the second officer also, so that we know that our Banvas is being powered from any backup source. And same can be asked by any vetting inspector or any PSC inspector as well.
Then same thing is for the other radar, same checks which we have done earlier. For VHF, it is a normal thing which we all know that VHF must be on low power when we are at port. Always, all your VHF must be on low power. Your AIS must be on low power. Both of these shall be on low power. Your MFHF must be switched off. On bridge, normally he will then ask, vetting inspector will come, definitely come, and he will check your VDR remote capsule. He will definitely check this, and he'll check whether there is any alarm or not, whether it is showing abnormality or whether it is showing alarm or not. So for example, if you'll see this status is normal, so normally vetting inspector do cross check this. They will ask you, okay, switch off your echo sounder. So once you switch off your echo sounder, there shall be alarm, because normally echo sounder is integrated with VDR. So they will check whether the alarm is coming on VDR or not. So that's how they cross check it. And they will definitely come and check this panel, remote control panel, remote unit. Normally AMSA would ask you, normally it is not asked by other people, but normally AMSA asks, okay, can you show me how do you record this VDR data? So a second officer or bridge officers must know how to record VDR data, how to save them basically. Then there shall be no alarm on bridge. Make sure there is no alarm. There is no alarm which is silenced, because on old ships you will see that the alarm buttons are kept on pressed so that it does not give a re-alarm. So make sure you haven't done anything. All the buttons shall be in proper positions. There shall be no such practice that you have switched off any alarm or cut off, done a breaker cut off for any alarms. Normally one of the vetting inspector has asked me as well that where are your emergency stops? So you must know on bridge where are your emergency stops located. They would normally ask with second mates, not with other officers, but second mate they can definitely ask where are your emergency stops. So you must know on bridge where are your emergency stops kept. With MFHF, it is the same thing, that MFHF must be switched off in the port, and your SATC is always on. In port, never switch off your SATC. SATC is always on. MFHF will be switched off, and my second VHF, that shall also be on low power. Other thing is, vetting inspector does come and check for your EPIRB and SART. As per requirements, that EPIRB, both, this is SART, so SART and EPIRB, both of them shall have marking of their battery expiry, and ship's name, call sign, MMSI number must be marked on the SART. So for example, you can see over here in my SART, these things are either they are written by dynamo tape, or you can manually write down with a permanent marker. It does not matter, but it must be marked on your SART, the ship's name, call sign, and your MMSI number and battery expiry. Okay. So for LD SLAM, normally for LD SLAM, he would ask you to start and show it to him. He will check the operation of it, and he will ask you to show the spare bulbs. So normally in all LD SLAM, minimum requirement is 3 bulbs. So you must have these 3 spare bulbs for LD SLAM, which is normally stored within the box itself or on the bridge. So you must show that. Now we'll move on to other equipment. Then all these repeaters must be showing values, and there must be any alarms, or the lighting must be proper. There must not be any angles. For example, rudder angle indicator, he will ask you to do on autopilot 5 degree to starboard, 5 degree to port, and he will check whether your rudder angle indicator is properly moving or not. On both side of bridge wing as well. Like on port side also, he will check whether there is any off heading or not. So your these repeaters also he will check whether they are showing true values or not. Then same thing is for EPUB. He will check whether marking is there or not. So same thing on EPUB, he will check whether there is marking or not. EPUB IMO symbol is posted or not. Then your MOB release, that expiry shall be written over here. This pin should be free, it should not be jam. It is, as you can see over here, it is loose.
Then the rope attached between the Lifebuoy marker and the Lifebuoy shall be in such a way that it is not entangled and it will not obscure or hinder the free operation of the Lifebuoy or the marker in case of emergency.
All your repeaters must show right heading. They can also check for these thermometers and whether there is a water or not, whether there is sufficient water or not in your wet thermometer.
That's it with this video. In the next video, we'll try to cover all the other remaining parts of the bridge. Thank you.